Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 423. This is your guide to the geek side. I am one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra from beautiful Sauvage, Minnesota, recent survivor of the Hamilton shooting, joined by Charlie Carden.
Alexander Hamilbutt. Okay, I stole that one. What's up, y'all? I'm back after a 3-day Comic-Con we did with the chapter in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Which is fun. We talked to about 70 different trekkers, but the end got added 6 more people to our chapter. But we did raise over $400 for Make-A-Wish of Michigan, which is all that really matters. That's where it's at. So that was great. It was grueling. We actually had the chance to work another show today in Holland, Michigan, and I had a work trade show yesterday, and I'm completely burned out, so I had to turn it down. But you know what? I was glad we were able to do that, and I love doing what we do. But man, it's fun for other people, but it is work for us. You know what I mean?
Especially when they make you wear those wooden shoes when you enter the halls of Holland.
Oh, you're right. You know what? It was a new venue. They moved into a civic center, so you're right. There might have been a wooden shoe guy at the door. And I don't think those really go with the Starfleet blacks, unless they were if they were black and leather, maybe some padding, but probably
patent leather wooden shoes.
Right,
yes.
patent leather wooden
shoes. While they exist. Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Well, very, very good. It's good to have you back, Charlie. When you were gone, I was joined by my friend Steven Shashkin.
Nice.
A lot of fun was had there. And but now it's time for us to talk about our Patreons. They make our podcast highly successful. They bring the fun. And we have a lot of fun with actually them on Discord. So check out Discord and join there. Please. And maybe you'll meet some of our Patreons in person or online. Best buds, Jamie Prinky. BFFs, Sean, Stella, and Henry Nias, Missy Merchant, and Andy Milliken. Thanks again for your support.
You guys make it go, and we're additionally blessed because Missy is a frequent contributor. She works with me a lot on my Patreon, the Facts Geek Life Show. She is making some upcoming appearances on Code 47 here on our free feed. So she is a wonderful friend of mine, a very insightful contributor, and she has helped us grow our Patreon too. So extra special shout out to Missy Merchant. We love ya. But Todd, speaking of love, what's not to love about this? Oh, we even gave the segment a name.
I did, Charlie. It debuted last week. Didn't you listen?
I was on a top secret mission to not listen to shows that I'm not on because I love the sound of my voice. I miss it.
I dubbed the segment "We Got This Covered" based on the greatest news site in all the land, plus a famous comic book cover that we are going to talk about. Now.
And you say this is 23 because we're on episode 423, which you might not have mentioned. I don't know. But 23 is my lucky number. We're actually recording this. We're recording 423 on 423, and it's also my mother's 75th birthday there. I said, this is how I know she doesn't listen to the show, because she won't get mad. When I called her this morning and I said I put out a Facebook post, but I didn't put your age in there, I didn't want to get the backlash because, you know, she was pissed when she turned 40.
That wasn't on Facebook though, Charlie.
Exactly. Yeah, there was no Facebook in 1988. So, but anyway, back to this cover. This is Godzilla King of Monsters from 1979, March of 79. And then, they sneak in the from is it Toho Productions?
Toho Productions. Yep.
Yeah, famed monster movie series. Now you got Godzilla, and on this cover, he's doing his thing. He's breathing fire. He's grabbing jet fighters out of the air, but on the ground, it's the Avengers. He's going to fight Thor, a classic 1970s lineup, the Avengers. You've got the gold and red Iron Man, classic Iron Man, Yellow Jacket, the Wasp, the Vision, and Thor with his little cap. What's interesting is that since this is it's a licensed property, it's probably not available at all anymore. But because it's licensed with a license that I'm sure is expired, Tale is non-canonical because there is a non-canonical Spider-Man involvement in a Transformers story. I think it was issue 4 or 5 during the very brief period of time when Spider-Man had his symbiote black costume. He was in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I think the transistors was set. And he webbed up Megatron. That's what I remember. I think it was on the cover of that issue. So, again, another funny one was in a subsequent issue of Spider-Man that came out right around the same time, Amazing Spider-Man, and it was Secret Wars 2 crossover. The Beyonder turned the Kingpin's skyscraper to gold, and so when it collapsed, the army was shipping it off, and Peter Parker, as a reporter, was talking to a soldier on the ground, and it was Duke from G.I. Joe, which I thought was pretty sweet.
Genius.
I love it, but all stuff not
marketing.
With licensing is all gone. So, but this looks super cool. I love it. I would love to read this.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. Last issue we did Rom, Space Knight 22. Same thing. Rom is a licensed character. Marvel does not own Rom.
Right.
Same thing with Micronauts. Marvel doesn't own them. So it would be curious to see if anything indeed interesting or unique happened in those comics, because then basically it's have to say maybe they are canon and they just can't reference them or even talk about that. So
very
why not?
Interesting. But yeah, I would love to see how this, I mean, this is a powerhouse squad of Avengers too, some of the classics. I would love to see how they, use their collective abilities to take down, a monster who's, 30 stories taller, however the hell how big Godzilla is. So isn't there a Godzilla King Kong movie coming out this summer?
Yeah, it's Godzilla X Kong.
Oh my god,
we're getting to that very exciting. X is for crossover. Yes.
Yeah, I don't even know that we have that in our.
It's not this. Is it this summer?
It can't be, because it didn't show up in any of the research.
Is it like a November? Is it like a Godzilla? Let's look at Godzilla. Well, and maybe it's this fall.
Yeah, even in the info that you have here on the floor, because we're going to be doing our summer movie preview in the Thunderdome. I don't think I see it, so I'm going to have to say no. No, the monster movie we're getting is Meg 2, not Meg from Family Guy. So
nope, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire 2024.
Oh well, that'll be fun.
Yes, that explains why it's not this year.
Because I'm sure that I've seen the last couple, but I have no recollection. Anyway, somebody else who may or may not struggle with Total Recall would be our senior news correspondent, 123 years young, talking about Madam Webb, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. She's waiting to give us the goods as far as news. So let's go and see what's got going on.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. I just finished watching Hamilton, as I said. Great movie, kind of a biopic, dramatization of history moments. And Madam Webb, that reminds me of the off-Broadway production you did of the formal musical Taft, A Tale of a Man Buried in a Piano Case. Very exciting. I don't know how much is true, but you know what? I'm assuming you're hoping to get your agent to get it back on Broadway.
Wasn't that the line at Smithers when Homer was hired as assistant and the phone rings and it's Burns' mother? She's 127 years old and she can only dial and yell. And Burns has never forgiven her for that affair she had with President Taft.
Correct.
Correct. He was a big.
Hello, Mr. Burns. This is your mother. Yes, classic lines from
your mother, Montague. Oh, so what do we got going on in the news this week? Oh, we have the death of something that used to mean a lot to all of us in media. What's going on here?
Okay, so Netflix, for those who might be very young, actually started off not streaming, but shipping out discs to you in mailers. Oh my goodness. I remember how big of a deal it was to get that service allowed. It essentially killed Blockbuster, and it was convenient. You didn't have any late fees. You just would sign up and they'd send you the disc in your queue. And then when you were done with it, you could send it back. Apparently, at times you would lose those DVDs and those mailers, but you know what? You'd eventually find them and ship them back later. Might have got charged for them, and
or you could try the long con, the scam. Be like, no, I totally sent you back this copy of Debbie Does Dallas 7. I don't know why you don't have it.
Yes, and renting a TV series was hilarious because it would be like how many discs, to watch a season of TV. It's like, I got disc 1. It's got 4 episodes. So,
right.
that they still have like 3 million subscribers. Still, people still use it. A lot of people enjoy it for their deep library because they have a huge library of content. So things that are maybe out of print even. It's interesting that it's finally happening. They're killing it off because it's been like $8 a month. You could get the service, and they're killing it. September 29th, 2023, they will ship their last DVD. I don't even know if they went to Blu-rays. They might have. The Redbox has obviously followed them, where you could get rent a disc at your local gas station or Target or whatever place had them. So I assume
Walgreens, that's where I always see it.
Walgreens, true.
Yeah.
And apparently they've inquired to see if they could buy Netflix's collection, which... I mean, why not? I mean, what else are you going to do with all of those discs?
It's going to be in the Netflix landfill. That's where it would be if they don't. Yeah.
Well, next to the Atari ET 2600 game that they buried in that landfill back in the 80s.
And the famous bit with Funko and all the ones that
that's the most recent one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably a huge marketing ploy because everybody buys Funkos, but nobody buys Funkos. You go into a GameStop and there's 50 million of them. It's out of control. It's absolutely
everybody has a Funko. Everybody gets a Funko. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so that's going away. But RIP. And for those who don't have an option, go to your library. That's probably your best place to get DVDs now.
We picked up 2 movies, both from the 70s. And then I ordered another one from the 80s that I couldn't find streaming. I got that horrible, it was a horrible movie with Brooke Shields, the one she made when she was little, because we watched that.
Blue Lagoon?
No.
Honey Baby?
Yeah. Oh God. Just because we watched her documentary, the movie was horrifying. Then we got Love Story and didn't watch it because you said it was awful and I took your word for it. And then I was talking to April about the early 1980s movie Against All Odds, which she had never seen with James Woods and not Beau Bridges, the one of them who's attractive, Jeff Bridges, and then Rachel Ward. And anyway, I hadn't seen that one but I was listening to the song and I was like, oh, that song is from a movie. So I went to the library and I ordered it. So, and our library is super close by and it's free, and free is good, but my taxes pay for it. So it's not really free.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
Your DVDs, your CDs, and they even have streaming content if you would like it.
Yes.
But we're saying goodbye to Netflix. Thank you for supplying us with DVDs. You did your service. So thank you very much. You got us to the current place we are today. Charlie, trivia, fun fact. What was Netflix's first streaming show?
It was the
original.
The one with what's his butt? Kevin. I was going to say Kevin Nealon. No, it was wasn't it House of Cards?
Yes, correct.
Yes,
Mundo. Yes,
and we were on board with that, and that show is in its own ways also equally horrifying, but not as horrifying as that Brooke Shields film.
Only because of the people.
Do not see it.
Yes.
Do not see it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, speaking of, and we were watching this. I told you just now, April and I are heavy into Succession. We're almost caught up, but that's on HBO Max. But it's not HBO Max anymore. So what's the deal?
Yes, starting in May, I believe it's May 23rd. If you are an active subscriber to HBO Max, you will be transitioned to a new service called Max. The big change is that if you are, I guess, apparently if you get the service for free, like with a phone deal through like AT&T, you're still going to get it for free until your next upgrade. So that is one thing. But other than that, it will change. You will essentially be converted to one of 4 options. $9.99 a month, or $100 a year gets you ad-supported Max. $15.99 or per month, or $150 gets you Max ad-free, which is 2 streams.
Oh my.
And the high end, and that's called Max ad-free. And then for $20 a month,
you almost called it Mad Max ad-free.
Sure, why not? And for $20 a month or $200 a year for Max Ultimate ad-free. Up to 4 concurrent streams, Ultra HD, all the fun stuff. So essentially, you don't have to do anything to keep getting HBO Max. I assume if you get the standard run without ads, it's the $15. It's the same price. Yeah. So really nothing's changing for anybody at this point. And as always, if you can, sign up for the year because you're going to save money.
Right.
It's
but
cheaper.
Clearly the big thing is because we have... we're on my mom's, but it's us, and then it's some other people, and those other people are going to lose it. So sorry, other people. But you 100% see where they're coming from. This is a business. They're trying to make money, and you can cry about it all the live long day, but this was always going to happen. The same way that Netflix is cutting and slashing, on people password sharing. It's a business. They have to make money. They have to make money in order to bring you content because things aren't free. The ad-supported thing is never going to go away. There's some people that hate it. I know some older people, and Todd, I know that you frequent those cord cutter groups just for a giggle. They were like, well, I thought I was going to subscribe to this and never have to watch another ad. Sure, but it's going to cost you more money. I subscribe to everything, and it costs me more than cable.
Well, anything with this live, you will have ads.
Well, of course.
Even Hulu, YouTube, TV, because it's still broadcast that you're just getting through a digital screen.
They can't just make your screen go black for 2.5 minutes.
Well, they could. They could just say, I've seen that on shows actually, where it's just like there's nothing there. Where it says pausing for local advertisements or something. That's exciting.
I have that on there because we watch one local news station and it's on the stream, obviously. So they'll say, waiting for they'll have their own commercials. But if it doesn't synchronize with when the show comes back on, then you just get a blue screen that says waiting for commercial content or whatever. So yeah, you're right. And I mean, shit, we're just looking at our phones anyway, or go have a whiz, or you're making breakfast or something. It's no big deal. It's much ado about nothing. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. So you either live with the commercials or you don't. So yes, I don't find this to be outrageous. I find it to be, Todd, you and I are both business people. We understand that things aren't free, that, the economics of how entertainment gets made is being driven by this kind of stuff now. So it's the only way. And I get it. It sucks, but you can also just not have it and then go watch something, and then go hone into one service. Like, I always said for me personally, and it varies from person to person, if somebody put a gun to my head, which I should probably stop using that analogy, but if they did and said you can have only one service, I would 100% pick the same thing every time, which is Paramount Plus. For what we enjoy, it's the most robust. It has all the Star Treks. It's got Colbert. It's got the Daily Show. It's got it's got a lot of different movie content. But again, there are some people that it doesn't speak to them at all. And I totally get this is the thing for them.
Absolutely.
Or something bundled, Disney bundled with Hulu, bundled with ESPN is critical to people who enjoy that kind of stuff. Like, I got to see my morning local news or whatever. So yeah, it's always gonna cost more, but you can control it in a way that you never could with cable. Because with cable, Xfinity is going to say, here's your $300 a month bill. It doesn't matter and if you want, you can give us more, and then we'll give you more content. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's always going to be X. So anyway, I'm ranting now, Todd. I sound like you. Look what you've done to me.
It's okay. You're airing out your grievances. That's okay. What I was going to add to this conversation is the fact that while yes, some of the structure is a little bit different, the name is changing. There's rationale for the name changing because they said they're condensing all of the things on Discovery Plus into Max.
Gotcha.
So you're actually getting a crap ton of content, which is great because you're getting and stuff you can ignore if you don't want to, but if Paramount, you want to, it's great.
Paramount, Viacom combined. Now, so this, and I was grousing about this in the pre-roll, and I'll ask again, what the hell ever happened to Cinemax? Did they just take them out behind the woodshed and beat them to death? Does it still exist?
No, it doesn't exist. I mean, Cinemax was essentially mostly movies, adult content, as we know. And then at the tail end of its career, they did a couple of actual shows.
Right.
But I think Banshee, Strike Back was another one. Not many. So those actually, I think, are on HBO available now if you want to watch them.
So HBO essentially gobbled them up or whatever that content
is. Well, they were always like you get HBO, you get Cinemax free. It was just kind of an extra offering, but it was owned by HBO. So, I mean, they just didn't find a real reason for it to live. So you will get, most of this is like lifestyle entertainment. So like Food Network, things like that. So it's not everybody's ball of wax. So, and then they said HBO scares some people away because it is largely more adult content, more critically acclaimed. It's not junk food. So they said, we wanted to use the name for Max because if we put HBO on there, HBO is not meant to carry the whole service because that's a lot to ask of HBO, which is critically acclaimed. And if you dumb down HBO and says, well, HBO is now everything, it daily takes the value of HBO away. It just becomes like it takes away the name and the value of that. So they said, so that was their rationale. I mean, I understand HBO overseas means nothing. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's never been a thing. Like, markets HBO content on another service, but it's not even called HBO. It's like Crave or something like that.
Yeah, they have Crave, or overseas they have Stan, I think, is the one like that.
Sky is a big one. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, so I totally get it. And you know what? If you get it now, you're going to get it anyways, and you'll see it's Max, and you'll get it, and then we'll move on. And
well, I mean, that happens a month from now, and I'll turn it on to watch whatever, and I'll be like, oh, it's called Max now. Oh,
exactly.
How could I possibly care about that? So anyway, the moving, the shaking. But speaking of Paramount,
well, I was going to say they did announce. I mean, part of this, they did announce some new stuff that's coming out in the service. I'll just go very quickly. Please. Yes, so they did announce there's going to be a new Harry Potter TV series, which every season will be a book. So, and I know people are saying, well, wasn't that just like Harry Potter's been out almost 20 years as a movie? So,
it's going to be the old books, because I was like, where are the new books? I haven't heard anything about.
No, they're just adapting, and so basically, it's going to allow those books to breathe more. Instead of 2 hours, you're going to get X amount of content. Now, characters that were ignored, plot lines. That's going to come out. We are getting a spin-off series of The Big Bang Theory, which we've already had one. We're going to get another we're going to get another Game of Thrones prequel called The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, which is based on a short story or a novella that was out before. Yeah, we're going to get a Conjuring series, Charlie. You know, the Conjuring films. We're going to Conjuring series. Yes. Other than that, we're getting a new Tiny Toons Luniversity series, a Peter and the Wolf short film. We already knew about the Penguin series coming out. Yeah, a new True Detective. And let's see, anything else? Oh, a Gremlins series and a Barbie Dreamhouse Challenge. So there you go.
Very good. I assume, is that a canonical Barbie Dreamhouse Challenge? Never mind. It's not important.
Not important.
So again, we will see that on May 24th. So anyway, as I was saying, in my infinite love for Paramount Plus, we're talking about Star Trek most of the rest of the way here. So for deeper dives, definitely listen to us over on Code 47. But we will blast through this news right now. Over on Paramount Plus, they did announce that Michelle Yeoh's long bandied about for almost 4 or 5 years, Section 31, which is going to be a TV movie, is going to be the start of Star Trek Phase 2. We have phases now. We didn't have phases in the old days of Star Trek. We just had one show that rolled on to the next, and we had star dates. Every year in Star Trek and their timeline was a 5-digit number that, as it advanced through the season, that was the passage of time. So now we have phases, because this is the 21st century. We don't have star dates. Michelle Yeoh, obviously a very high ticket Academy Award winner. I don't know how they swung this deal, but they managed to get her talked around to taking her character, known as Empress Georgiou from the Mirror Universe, who in season 2 of Discovery had joined the shadowy Section 31, because it really fit her skills, because Section 31 is shady, and they do shady stuff in the name of protecting the Federation security. She got tossed into the 32nd century with the rest of the Discovery crew at the end of season 2, and midway through season 3, her health was in danger because she had to cross too many timelines and whatever it is. And the Guardian of Forever, which is a classic Star Trek MacGuffin, sent her back somewhere. And the back somewhere is where we're going to pick up here. This is awesome. Todd, I know you're a big Michelle Yeoh fan. You're a huge fan of new, what people call new Trek, which is a slap in the face to new, to what's going on right now. I prefer to, and other podcasters of my ilk refer to it as a second golden age of Star Trek. And this is the next evolution.
Second golden age. Should we make it like comics say the Silver Age, the Golden Age, and Modern Age? So it's the modern age of Trek.
This is You're right, because the silver, does it go gold, silver, or silver, gold?
Well, gold is the oldest, because it's the longest anniversary. So golden, gold, silver. Silver is like 70s and 80s, I believe. Call it
TOS, TAS, and the movies. There's your Silver Age. Golden Age would then be TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise.
No, you got it backwards, Charlie. Golden Age is the longest, so that's like the oldest. So golden, silver, modern.
And so, there you go. So we've broken it down in terms that you comic nerds can understand. So this will be great. I assume this is going to go in production this year, which means I feel like we could see it next year. So I'm fired up. And this is the first TV movie project that has ever been done for Star Trek. We've had the short treks, which was produced during the, I think, second and third, maybe first and second and third seasons of Discovery, one of which was dedicated to Picard. Another one was animated and was dedicated to the original series. But yeah, this is the first long form TV movie thing. And this really blows the door open for different things they can do for Star Trek. If this is a TV movie of this, hey, I want a TV movie where we finally get all the Voyager crew back together, or we get, the surviving members of DS9 together, or we just have, the Star Trek Legacy television program, which was set up obviously by the end of season 3 of Picard, which we'll talk about in a minute, opens the door to a new regular TV series, but little spin-offs from that.
Pilot.
It could be absolutely fantastic. So this is great news. And again, when you have the cachet of such an incredible actor like Michelle Yeoh, it's just gonna burgeon and help Star Trek grow. So as someone who is a lifer for Star Trek and a content creator and someone who swears by it up and down, this is fantastic news. This is awesome.
Yeah, it might have been the only way they could get her anyways. And if you wanted to use her, it was going to be in this a short recording session, because when you do a series, you limit yourself from the roles you can take, because I've got to do this. I mean, even we saw you got a mustache, you got a CGI out because you got to be in that Mission Impossible movie.
It ruined it. Oh my
so
goodness.
This will be cool to see what they can do. Try some ideas, maybe, which I think is good. Not everything needs a series. Sometimes you can just do like we got with Marvel with their what we call them special presentations.
The werewolf, because we got it two-sided. The Werewolf by Night was fantastic. The Guardians one, it was okay.
It's fine. It was a holiday special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It did its job.
It did. It sounded like Jango Fett. They'll do their job. So this is very exciting. And of course, in the Star Trek world, we're going to talk a little bit more, but we finally had a new series announced, the Starfleet Academy. I can't remember if we talked about that or maybe you talked about it last week.
I don't think we did.
Yeah.
I mean, are there any, so I'm assuming that's probably next year, Charlie. And have they announced any details on is it going to be modern age, like the Picard era now?
It's being produced. It will, because of the fact that they said this is Starfleet Academy, open for the first time in a century. It takes place in the 32nd century because the Starfleet Academy shut down.
It's taking off where Discovery ends.
One could very easily think that Tilly will be a main character because that's where the character ended up. So that's
a cool idea.
Yeah, very cool idea. And again, the Starfleet Academy idea has been around since the early 1990s. Star Trek VI was supposed to be a Starfleet Academy story. Yeah, so that's wild. So there is a hell of a lot. I mean, we had, when we did Code 47, which came out last week, we had 2 news stories, new production stories, and it was the first time in a long time that there was news beyond the regular minutia that that we talk about on podcasts. So things in Star Trek are just continuing to heat up. It's a great time to be a Trekker. Absolutely great time.
It makes me feel like there's a way to embrace the past, the present, and the future, which is so unique with a series where there's something for everybody. And I guess it would be Lower Decks would be that era, right? Lower Decks would be the era. Prodigy would be that era.
The era
of Picard. That kind of
it's immediately post Voyager TNG, so about 15 20 years before Picard.
Sure. But it's still of that time. It's not like 32 the 32nd century or way in the past with Strange New Worlds. So you do kind of satisfy, if you like that one era, you're getting something from
less than 40 years. So like I said, everybody is so fired up, and I figure the announcement can't be that far off that we'll find out that the characters where they concluded at the end of Picard, which we'll talk about shortly here, will move on into their own adventures because they've really teed it up. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Or maybe maybe there'll be a movie with those characters.
Ooh, could be. I don't know. But we know Star Trek really flourishes on the small screen. But I digress. Todd.
I mean, that's what I meant. TV movie.
The TV movie. But let's move on to this next one. And again, we're still talking about Paramount Plus, but this one is one of your absolute favorites.
Let's just roll into the Strange New Worlds since we're already talking Trek.
Very good. All right. Well, let's. I'm a little froggy. Excuse me. You make me switch my tabs over here on Gizmodio. So, On June 15, we're getting season 2 of Strange New Worlds, which was a runaway hit, although Picard has proven by the numbers to be the most popular of this new modern era. I would dare say that Strange New Worlds runs a close second, picking up where Discovery season 2 left off. We get the adventures of a recast Captain Pike, Anson Mount. I've got his hair. We have Ethan Peck as the latest person to portray Spock, and to me, he's got it nailed. It's him. It's Leonard Nimoy, and then it's this dude, as far as I'm concerned. And Rebecca Romaine playing the we didn't know anything about her to start with character of Una Chin Riley, who didn't have a name, otherwise simply known as Number One, and a new cast of characters, including some legacy characters, younger versions of them from the original series, such as Christine Chapel and Nyota Uhura. Awesome 10-episode first season that we got last summer. I haven't met a single Trekker who hasn't loved it. We loved all over it over on Code 47. But at any rate, we got a trailer, a 2-minute trailer that just gave us a lot of great stuff. We got to see some OG Klingons. The Klingons look normal again. I love it. They have.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Did I miss something on Discovery? I know because they said, Klingons have changed over time and maybe different regions of Klingons.
I have said this, and again, I feel bad because when I recorded in the dining room, my old studio, I had a great map on the wall that showed you everything. The Klingon Empire in galactic space, the way things are mapped out, is probably twice the size of the Federation. It's in hundreds of worlds. So if you think about it that way, if the Klingon Empire is ancient and they're spread out over a gazillion different light years, you're going to get different looking Klingons from different planets. But I think I might know what you're talking about. In Discovery, in the first season, all the Klingons were bald and they looked a certain way. In the second season, they had hair again, and it was explained, well, Klingons shave their head in times of war, which made no sense to me. But at any rate...
Are they always at war?
Yeah, they're a warrior species, so they're never not. But maybe it's at certain tiers of war. But at any rate, we see Spock, drinking Klingon blood wine with what considered to be very traditional looking Klingons with the long hair parted in the middle, and the ridges look pretty normal. The skin doesn't look, they don't have crazy teeth. So they're tilting back to a little bit more standardized look. Could be to appease fans, who knows? But this is the first appearance of Klingons and this crew interacting with Klingons at all in Strange New Worlds. The first time that we've seen them, obviously, since season 2 of Discovery, when that crew launched off into the far future. We've not seen Klingons in the 32nd future or 32nd century. So I love it. I mean, this is going to be, the event of the summer for all of us diehards. We also have Carol Kane, classic comedic actress, joining the crew as, I'm not sure if that's chief engineer, but an engineer, probably the chief engineer. And she is, probably owing to what Tig Notaro really brought to Discovery since season 2, adding that really sharp, biting wit, and I think it's going to be great. I'm sorry, I don't have anything negative to say. I can't really be critical because, again, I'm swallowed up by this golden era. It's really fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's a cool show. I mean, it's probably had the best first season of hardly any other show I could think of had a better first season. Right. And so other than that, I mean, it's going to be fun to see where they go. They're unburdened by Discovery, which is great. They don't have to carry on like the burden of that, like what they're doing. They can just go off and have their own adventures. And I think they've been pretty good about doing their own thing and not having to get hung up on the past and legacy. In a lot of ways, it's been like it's overbearing
and not following the what's more prevalent in storytelling, this big archetype, like we've got 10 episodes, it's one story. They're there are some consistent things with the characters and some through lines like you might see in an older Star Trek show. But every episode is, now we're onto this planet and we're trying to keep this group of people from dying. And so we're going to do this thing and that thing, which is great, which is what I think speaks to people who are kind of diehards who really like, well, I got to have it the old way because that's the only way I like to see stuff. But that's I have this conversation frequently, and last weekend was a great example, meeting so many Trekkers and talking to them, well over 150 people probably over these 3 days, and saying, in this golden age of Star Trek, which is now what I'll probably refer to it as, you have 5 different shows. Now that Picard, even though now that Picard has ended, I'd lump that in there, touching different eras, different tones, directed at different audiences to help grow the franchise, which is what it's always needed to do. And I think you and I have talked about that Star Wars struggles with, because a lot of it is stuck in that same 50-year period. And it just seems like now they're finally getting over the hump, because we're getting something way in the past, and we're getting stuff, mid-range and dealing with, different, getting an animation and doing different stuff. So yeah, you got to diversify to grow. If you've got to, you think about Jack Donaghy from 30 Rock, you have to innovate. Where's the innovation? It's the spinning tray inside the microwave oven, right? Innovate.
Yeah. It's very interesting because, to your point, there's really one voice for Star Trek now, but that person isn't doing everything, and they're finding things that work. And I think that's what a great producer or showrunner, I guess, or franchise runner does. They pick the right people, they move things around, they try different things, and they're not just focused on one area, and they don't focus on just the same creators or the same directors, which is great, because then you do get a variety of what works, what doesn't, and you can play around with where Star Wars right now is. It feels like it's very Filoni focused, and it's like, if you don't like Filoni, then you're kind of crap out of luck, because he does things a certain way, and it's not for everybody. So I like that this is Star Trek's approach,
just like George Lucas was back in the day.
Exactly. We didn't get that, like, when Gene passed away, there's some hesitance to move on. You had those old guard folks, right? And now it feels like the old guard is gone, but you got the people that love those things from TNG versus the original series. And it's an exciting time.
Yeah, and Terry Matalas, who runs Star Trek, as your point is a great example, because he started his career as a PA on Voyager, and then he was a PA on Enterprise, and then he went on to make 12 Monkeys and a bunch of other stuff, where he's really established his own voice. But it always came back to Star Trek. So anyway, it is cool. Again, hashtag great time to be a Trekker, and Absolutely. For even deeper dives with the shovel, join us over on Code 47. We've got some great stuff coming up, by the way, and episodes 99 and 100 are going to be mega sized. We're talking about the finale of Picard, and then we have a 100th episode. I'm not going to spoil it. Got the idea from Todd, so you might have heard the concept before, but you haven't heard the concept before, because it's going to be different. Very excited.
Enjoy. Well, something that, if you're not a fan of Star Trek, but you might be a fan of science fiction comedy inspired by Star Trek, we're talking about Galaxy Quest. Apparently, there's been talks about Galaxy Quest. I think we've talked about over the years that there might be a new movie, there might be something else. Well, apparently there are real talks about putting a Galaxy Quest TV series on at Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus.
Yes, Galaxy Quest came out in 1999. Great cast, basically riffing on Star Trek TOS back in the day, and people loved it. And we've always wondered if there was going to be more there, because it's really a cult film, and it's done very well. And people, I don't know if anybody's had a bad thing to say about Galaxy Quest, but it's great. Sam Rockwell's fantastic.
It's funny. I had this at one of our chapter meetings a few months ago. I said what you just said, and then one person said, well, I really didn't like it. And then I turned to my wife, and she said, I wasn't really a fan either. I'm like, excuse me? What are you talking about?
You're out.
Banned. You're out. You're sleeping on the couch. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't know, Sheila. I feel like we've not rewatched it because she wasn't a fan. But again, I don't know what there's not to like. I think it's a hoot. I mean, it's comedy. It's played for laughs. There's a few serious moments, but it stays relatively late. There's a good message at the end too. That William Shatner on SNL, just get a life. Why don't you? You took a little job I did a long time ago and made it into a colossal waste of time.
I don't know what they would do with it if they would say, okay, what's new in Star Trek? Let's dissect that. We did have the Orville, which we don't want to go back into the Orville. We're not going to, we've talked about that in the past, but the Orville kind of hit on TNG. So would Galaxy Quest be looked at like a parody of Orville? It's going to be a fine line to walk, because you got to get the right folks. And how do you get them involved? Well, apparently we do have Mark Johnson, who is a film producer, who's going to executive produce the show. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, can you? And I guess Howard is going to have, it's going to be based on his story. So apparently, that's David Howard. Sorry, David Howard and Dean Paris are the guys that are now doing this. Yeah. I mean, hopefully they would engage with Mark Johnson, who was the original producer of that. And if they do that, maybe they can have the best of both worlds, where they can parody not just the original Star Trek, but maybe science fiction as a whole, and broaden it a little bit. I think that could be fun.
So like Spaceballs.
Kind of, yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's hard to nail it, and if you just do it, because I think that was at a time when the TOS was so long ago, and
Yeah.
TNG was doing its own thing, that it was a good way to just kind of make fun, embrace kind of that culture. The William Shatner of it with Tim Allen. Do we have it like a new generation comes in, and Tim Allen's now like because he's not a spring chicken anymore. So I don't know what you do with it, but it could be good. It's on Paramount Plus. They've had a pretty good track record of new content.
Right.
So
I agree. Yeah. Most of the things, like we'll start a show here and there on other streamers and just be like, we started Beef on Netflix and that just didn't really click with April. So we're like, yeah, we're good. But I feel like most things, like we watched The Offer recently, the one they made about the making of The Godfather. Mm-hmm. That was fantastic. And again, 8 or 10 episodes is great to tell the story and just be like, no, we're going to move on and do something else. So yeah, I really feel like most of the things I've watched on Paramount Plus, and again, I'm very biased because I love the Star Trek content so much, that they really tend to pull it off. Viacom it kind of knows what they got going on. So I'm excited about that. That definitely was cool to me. I would imagine, like with most things, if this is being talked about, perhaps it'll go in production for the end of the year, and then we'll see it in 2025. Probably is the vibe I get. So we'll see.
And I don't know if they'll be able to get the whole cast back to do cameos. Sigourney Weaver's still a big name. Alan Rickman passed away. Sam Rockwell, he's become kind of he does a lot of niche projects.
Right.
Tony Shalhoub, I don't even know if he's still acting anymore.
Oh, he's on the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is a show we love.
That's
on Prime. Yeah.
That's right.
He's the dad. He's her dad. So yeah, that's a great show.
Okay.
It's on right now, and it's on right now, and it's ending, which is a bummer because it's Amy Sherman Palladino who did
Gilmore Girls, right?
There you go. Yeah. So it's very much of that tone with the fast talking and the
fast. I watched a couple episodes. I enjoyed it and just fell off. Yeah.
Yeah. Most stuff. All right. What do we got here to take us home?
Dungeons and Dragons is going to be a TV series on Paramount Plus. So once again, we're in the Paramount Plus zone.
Paramount, give us that. All we've talked about is you. Let's have that, and how much HBO Max sucks. So give us some money. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't say that about you, HBO Max.
Yeah. So apparently they're talking about making an 8 episode series has been greenlit or officially ordered at Paramount Plus. They have the property of Dungeons and Dragons, and while that movie I wholly enjoyed.
Totally.
It's not performed that great, but I don't think it was because of the quality of the film, because I thought overall fantasy comedy is a hard thing to do, and I thought they did it really well. Lots of heart.
It's clearly still very niche-y. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's definitely an audience for that, but we had long conversations last summer about Top Gun Maverick and touching the quadrants, which we really had to dig deep and find out that quadrants were simply men and women above and below a separate age, which makes
ages,
quadrants. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So this clearly didn't touch like men. This would touch a certain male quadrant over a certain age, but for women, probably not overwhelmingly. In either quadrant.
D&D is growing for all demographics because it just seems to be finally touched. And there's a lot of series like that like Critical Role is a huge thing. There's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons online streaming things people are into. Well, so it's touching a younger demographic now, which is good.
I know that Missy Merchant runs a D&D group, and Kay is a member, and a couple of other friends. They do it every Monday. So it definitely is. And I've met a lot of people just in the last few years that are definitely into D&D, but yeah, it's not overwhelming. It's not like, NFL football where it's like Monday night D&D. Yeah, it just doesn't really stretch across. So do you think something like this, I mean, in the movie it was bombastic, it was great, a lot of great visuals. And if you
a lot of good performances.
If you contrast to the Lord of the Rings of Power, which it didn't really click with me. Do you think this stands a better chance of being something that's going to click? Or, what do you think?
Well, good question, because Lord of the Rings, I think people have a specific mindset of what it is. It's the Peter Jackson films. Yeah. I think that the people are like, well, what else could it be? I think people had that with Game of Thrones too, and then we got House of Dragons, which people really resonated again because they like that world and the way they build it and the way the characters are. It's like a specific feel and tone that I think just works. Regardless of it has to be specific characters. Right. Now, this series, though, it's going to be interesting because there's a very popular character in Dungeons and Dragons. His name is Drizzt, and he is a dark elf. and he's
Of
very
course.
popular. But he's very he's almost like the Wolverine of the Dungeons and Dragons era, like an anti-hero, a solo guy, just does adventures, kind of like you assume he's going to eventually do the right thing, but he might do some pretty bad things along the way. So apparently it looks like that where they may focus on that character. And the cool part is Drew Crivello is going to be behind this, and he's been involved in Deadpool and X-Men First Class. Two things I really like.
Sure.
So Deadpool, comedic, and then X-Men First Class, I think did a great job of taking those heritage X-Men characters and making them feel fresh after we got the crappy Fox films.
Right. Well, these were still Fox films, but yes, that first.
Well, yes, exactly. The Bryan Singer's movies, apparently. Yeah, I guess we'd call them. Yeah, so this could be very well done. I'll be curious to see if this does find an audience, but a TV series might be easier to adapt because you can watch an episode, do you like it, try it out, come back to it, versus a movie. Am I going to spend $8 on that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's a bridge too far for too many people.
You're right. Well, it's an investment. Well, and then really, if you look at an investment of time, because time is money, it's 42 minutes or whatever versus
you got to schedule it too. Like, what are we gonna do this weekend? Oh, I don't know. Well, if we go to this, going to a movie is more of a scheduling nightmare than most people realize.
Yeah, exactly. Although we got this other thing, thank God for Google Calendar. So again, something being produced that I would imagine we will see in 2025. So, well, cool. That is it for the news. We must leave Madam Web behind, and we got to get out that feeble Uber app, that Fuber app. Time to get down to Skugtown, Nastyville. The Geek Easy awaits, where we talk about what we're watching and reading this week. Let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, drinks are poured, and we are getting our nerd on. This week, it's Charlie and I watched both the same things. So we're going to kick it off with Picard series finale.
And we will keep it somewhat abbreviated because when you listen to this on Tuesday, the following Monday will be a long blowout episode of Code 47. It'll be myself and, of course, Jen and Peter, but Kay and Peter joined by our friend Jen Watson, who's been on with us a lot, the Chicago Trekker. So you'll hear, and then we'll do a little series wrap up about that as well. So definitely tune in, available the Monday after you're listening to this on Tuesday. So, Todd, you have been one of the staunchest supporters of this new golden age of Star Trek, and Star Trek Picard has been rough. I will simply say season 1 was iffy. I'll call it kind of maybe a C-, where season 2 is a straight F-, and we've talked about that a lot. Don't need to see anymore. This season was a star. It was a star. For a series that really got robbed when they ended their TV run in Nemesis of 2002 with an absolutely dreadful film that very few people care for, and we've talked about it on our show as well and broken it down. This really gave us some twists and turns that I didn't see coming. The ultimate, and it had to do with the Borg, because the Borg were part of season 1. They were sort of a part of season 2. It was kind of weird. But then we got a combination of the changelings from Deep Space Nine and the last surviving Borg, which was the Borg who got decimated at the end of the last episode of Star Trek Voyager, the one who got that virus, and she was the last surviving Borg, and she ended up stuck in the gas cloud of Jupiter. That's where her little cube lived. And through manipulating rogue changelings, she managed to create this transporter program that made it so that any Starfleet personnel under the age of 25 would be Borgified, but they would be controlled by a biological implant that Jack, Picard's son, who we find out throughout the series, inherited from Picard, actually killed Picard. And though we know Picard he's a bot in this. Sorry, now I'm making it up again. I'm not trying to recap the whole deal, but this last episode was absolutely friggin' spectacular. It was wish fulfillment that still delivered a punch. Because everything that you saw in there, every character had a moment, and they ended this series with the exact same visual that they ended Star Trek Next Generation with the circular pulling out of them playing cards at the end of it. And it was funny. I was having breakfast with our college roommate John in Detroit because he was visiting family, and he's not a Star Trek guy, but this was the same morning it came out. It was last Thursday morning, and I said it was great. Everybody lived. And he said that reminds me of there was something from Doctor Who where he said it's great. Everybody lives in this reference. But yeah, you were walking into this thinking, especially since we lost the awesome character of Captain Shaw, who was captain of the captain of the Titanic. He was captain of the Titan, which was the show that the ship that we spent this season on. He died in a firefight with these Borg, and but and then one of the other crew members got killed, or in the previous episode, one of the bridge actors. But all of our people lived, and at the end of it, everybody got a direction to go in, including we get to find out that Tuvok's still alive, which was nice because we thought he maybe got killed by the changelings because he showed up as a changeling earlier in the season.
He was in a trunk of dope and furs.
That exact scene from Dolomite. He got thrown into the trunk. He was able to, and it's weird how he was able to promote Seven to the rank of captain when he was captain.
How unofficial.
Yeah, exactly. I have this note from Admiral Janeway, who couldn't be here because we kept holding out to see if Kate Mulgrew would show up, and she didn't. They brought back Elizabeth Dennehy's character from TNG in order to kill her off, the same way they did with Michelle Forbes as Ro, brought her back so they could kill her off. But again, they say no body, no death. But this was, I have said to people over the last, 5 or 6 days since this comes out, I think this is the single best installment of Star Trek we've had in the last 20 years, in my opinion.
Oh, really? Oh, that's high regard.
And I know that when we talk about it, when we record on Sunday of next week, in order to publish the Code 47 the following Monday, I know that there are some varying opinions of that. I don't think Peter really loved it, but I don't want to speak for him. Sure. I'm interested to hear what he had to say. But no, Jen Watson, who's a cosplayer I've worked with, and she's also we've done some photo shoots together, and she lives in Chicago area, reached out to me and said, hey, boy, if you want to talk about that last episode of Picard, I've got thoughts. And I said, we will add you in. Cool. We'll have our little force, because we've done 4. We're going to be doing 5 people when we do our 100th episode, which I think is going to be kind of wild, but it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So, as another Trekker, what did you think? What was your vibe?
You already talked about the first 2 seasons of Picard, which, yes, I think they failed, and I think this delivered what most fans wanted. They wanted to get all of their favorites back together again and have one last big adventure. They delivered that.
Which Star Wars, like Star Wars didn't do. They didn't give us Han, Luke, and Leia. They just didn't, Yeah,
I think where I felt like I wish they'd done a little bit more with, because we got 7 of 9, who was a Voyager character. So we had good representation there. And yes, I know Worf was on DS9, but he was primarily I think we needed a good representation of DS9. I think that got the short shrift, because for me, DS9, I think, was the pinnacle for Trek for a long time.
No doubt.
It's like, I feel like they've gotten the shorter shrift. So it's like, why couldn't they have gotten like Julian Bashir or, Garrick, someone else, or even Chief O'Brien? Because, he played both sides.
But that would be the same, it'd be the same problem as Worf.
True.
And Worf is, by the numbers, the character we've seen the most, because he was on 7 seasons of TNG, 4 movies, and 3 seasons of four seasons of DS9. So he's the guy we've seen the most of, and now we've seen him on 10 episodes of this, or 9 episodes of this. So,
but I guess we get a nod to Odo, which was kind of like hushed but not really mentioned, which was a nice, and that's what I think this season did very well. It really made people feel good about the characters they loved, and I think this is the best that these characters spotlight they've been given to actually have emotions, act, and just really. I think when we talk about New Trek, I think New Trek is all about bringing out different parts that were not present in past Trek, but also illuminating those Trek parts that we loved. And I think this did a great job of it. Most of the new characters have died throughout the season, like we had, or were left and say, "Oh, go away. We don't need you anymore." Except for Rafi. Rafi's kind of like the mainstay, and we didn't get to see Guinan. She was mentioned again, but we didn't get to see her.
She got
again.
in that last scene. You got
dropped.
LeVar Burton say, "Well, Guinan's been giving us the dirty eye." I'm like, why doesn't she just come over and have a drink with us? It was dumb.
But where's the dirty eye? We didn't see her dirty eye.
Yeah, I know you can see it reflected in a mirror. Little tidbit that always annoyed me about Guinan, and I just watched this episode of Voyager for the segment we're doing for this next one, where Janeway mentions when Voyager ends up back in 1996 because they're on a mission. You've seen the one with Ed Begley Jr. and it's a two-parter. She makes mentions of the fact that Southern California, Los Angeles, was lost in an earthquake in the year 2047. Yet in Picard, they raised it back up again and built a bar. I mean, I don't. You know what? It's Star Trek. It's okay. They can do it.
Why not? Why not, Charlie? It works. It works. We don't need to know about that, right?
That's okay.
It is interesting that this was the first, as far as I know, post-credit scene we've gotten in Star Trek.
Right.
I mean, I'm not aware of it. But once again, somebody thought was dead. Apparently not. Just playing us all for laughs and bringing that back. So to your point, will we see more of this era of Star Trek plus some of this cast?
Without a doubt.
It would be cool.
Yeah, I think that there's a very strong vibe that we want to see because, again, that last scene was Jack Crusher, who's joined Starfleet. I don't know. I didn't get the sense of maybe he took his father's name, so maybe he's Jack Picard now. No idea. Could be.
Doesn't have name tapes. There's no name tapes in space.
There's no name, which is not. Yeah, it was not the way it is in the United States military. But it was John Delancey who I got to meet and spend time with on the cruise. What a cool guy. Came back as Q. Q supposedly died last season, but he said, "Oh, I'd hoped that you'd gotten smarter in a generation and not think so linearly." So the Q can't really die.
Could have been Q from 20 years earlier. Yeah,
exactly.
He's exactly. What was the last question I had? I think I had one more question, but I don't remember it. I'm sure I'll forget about it and remember it later. But excellent redemption arc.
Very happy.
Very cool. Well. Yeah, and now we've got we're going to get fillers of other Star Trek shows coming in with Academy, something else. So it's a good balance of killing something before it gets old in the tooth, and trying some new things.
Move on and do that. So speaking of old in the tooth and maybe not moving on, we have to talk about The Mandalorian. Now, we are doing a big blowout about this on Holocron, which we're recording tomorrow. So you'll hear it the Wednesday after the Tuesday this comes out. That'll be Mark, myself, Kay, and Missy. So it'll be a 4-pack.
And a deeper dive. Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're going to get my opinion, which is the most important one
right now. So Todd, you are a well-known Star Wars critic, which is certainly your right. I'm gonna let you talk. So talk to me about Mandalorian season 3 finale.
This was an awkward season. After the highs and excitement of season 2, then the lows of Boba Fett with a couple cool Mandalorian episodes intermixed. This season, I kind of felt like it should have been called The Mandalorians. They should have just put an S at the end and called it The Mandalorians because that's kind of what it turned into this season. But I felt a lot of this could have been compressed.
The Mandoborian is what I think our friend John started calling it. Because it just wasn't. You're right. It was an uneven roller coaster, dip to the side, come back. I understand.
And I think there were some decent standalone episodes. A lot of it felt like it was Fetch Quest. We got a lot of that. Totally get it. But it didn't feel like
it's what they've done all along, though. There were Fetch Quests in season 1.
I guess, but these were just less interesting. It's like, you have to redeem yourself in the water. I'm like, okay, he did it.
Yeah, and he did it in the first episode.
And you did it. You are redeemed. I mean,
and then they go back, and then the armor's like, okay, Bo-Katan, you're with us, but now I want you to take your helmet off. So it's like, am I being punked? What's going on here with this deal?
I get it. But it is, I am curious to see if this is truly like the end of the series. And they're going to continue it with the big Filoni movie. Are we going to get the Galaxy Rangers adventures with Boba Fett going on little side projects?
It sounds like Paw Patrol, the Galaxy Rangers.
Exactly. Well, that was an old TV series, old cartoon. I don't know if you remember that. Remember that?
Oh, wasn't it like
Space Cowboys?
Space Cowboys, yeah, exactly. And it was, I think Marvel did a comic of it. It was in Star Comics.
Very cool.
Yeah. But it was funny. I published an article, and I think I shared it in our Discord, that said Mandalorian definitely coming back for season 4. And you read the body of it and said it hasn't yet been announced if it's coming back for season 4. I'm like, this was one of the this was like CBR or something I usually use. This isn't we got this covered or a giant freaking robot, which the other big clickbait one. Our reliable sources tell us.
Oh, there's a lot of bad ones out there, yeah, and you can already tell that some have like political bents too, which are just horrible too. It's like, don't do that.
It's so woke.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do say that after seeing Andor, I have a different perspective on how most Star Wars is written and acted. Andor, man, they're writing their ass off and they're acting their ass off. In this series, man, I don't know if Favreau needs to go back to writing school or something. Everybody in this is so flat and just static and cardboard. And it's like, is it just me? Does it feel like when they talk, it just seems like it's written like this and the acting isn't very good? And it just,
maybe that
just feels kind of,
if you think
it just feels off.
If you think back to Papa George and what things sounded like in particular in the sequel trilogy, maybe that's just how those people talk. I don't know. Maybe they're all just very wooden. Like, the way Bo-Katan talks is like, I'm like, that's not what Katie said. That's not what Starbucks sounded like.
No.
So that's not her level. And, you had Jack Black on and he was being ridiculous, but that was Jack Black. And, Mando sounds the same as he's always sounded. So I don't know.
I guess it comes out to me more. I just now notice it more. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of boring dialogue, and there's not a lot of emotion or heart. At times you get it. Like I did get that one point where Grogu was getting essentially the Praetorian Guard was taken away. I'm like, that was the first time I actually felt there was some risk, something bad happening.
Right.
The rest of the time, I'm like, they'll get out of it. It'll be exciting.
Fine. It'll be, they'll jump the General Lee over it and it'll be fine. Then they'll go back and so it ends that Mando does settle down on Apollo Creed's planet, and he has a little cabin, and he's sitting there with his feet up. He takes the job that they took away from Cara Dune because of reasons, and he's sitting there with his feet up, and Grogu's out by the pond, torturing a frog, which is great. The kid's going to grow up to be a psychopath. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we won't see them, at least if they do get another season 2 years from now. We'll see them again in 2025. And then that's going to be post Ahsoka. And then are we getting something else? We're not getting. There's no Book of Boba Fett season announced.
No, and we got Andor season 2.
Yes, but that's not tied into this like Mando
not at all.
Thing.
Oh, no. I think it's just Ahsoka, then maybe Mando again, and then into this film that they announced at Celebration.
Because with Ahsoka coming out this year as well, it's like, is there going to be a gap where nothing is coming out from that time frame? Because we had Boba Fett last year to fill the gap.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Then it's just going to really rely on the Acolyte, another season of Bad Batch. There's the Tales of the Jedi, which comes back, and so maybe
it's that the show with I'm blanking on his name.
Jude Law, the Jude Law show. Yeah, but again, and that is set in this time period. So there you go. Yeah. So maybe that'll generate some
that'll fill the gap. Yeah, that'll
generate some characters that might show up in the.
Then Boba Fett can show up in a cameo in the movie and say, "Hey guys," and then walk away.
He'll be Poochie. I have to go back to my home planet.
Yeah. So, I still like that world. I still like their adventures. But definitely clunky. When you see a lot of Mandalorians together, like shooting at a lake,
pew, pew,
I don't want more of that. It looks so dumb. That's the dumbest thing in the world. And a lot of Mandalorians don't look that cool. Once you start putting their color schemes together, it's like they just gave up.
The color scheme is like, I'm going to be red and black and brown and a different kind of brown and a different kind of red. And exactly.
They're like the worst Iron Man configurations.
Yeah, it's just the paint is all really chipped. So anyway, all right. Well, so those were the two big finales that capped off last week. So that's the end of one and the tentative end of another. So then we forage on into the summer. Star Trek next. Obviously, we have Strange New Worlds, which we'll have in June, and then for Star Wars, we have Ahsoka, which will be on in August. So hopefully, those will. I'm equally excited for both of them. Ahsoka, we got a trailer for that. Obviously, Celebration, which we talked about.
Me too.
So that'll be good. All right. Well, that wraps up the Geek Easy. Todd, time to stiff the waiter yet again because I'm pretty sure he spit in my drink, and I don't know what this burger is made out of, but it's not meat. But it's time to get out that Air Qantas app. We are due down in the land down under. The Thunderdome awaits, and it's summertime, baby. Got to talk about some movies. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, we're talking about the summer movies that are coming this year. This is summer. We are officially deeming it as May 5th through September 4th or 5th.
Sure.
Basically when Labor Day ends. The reason May 5th is selected is because Guardians of the Galaxy is essentially close enough to call it summer.
Right.
So we also are doing our summer movie wager with our Discord group, and also we have our private one with Charlie, myself, and John Sear. And last year was hard. This year is going to be even harder because Charlie, this summer is packed.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, right from the jump, you've got huge franchise installments from Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel films, the Ant-Man film, which I didn't get a chance to share with this, I heard on a podcast, did not come close to making its money back. It was the lowest performing Marvel film. I don't necessarily know of all, but certainly in many, many years. It was a flop.
Well, without a COVID excuse.
Yeah, I think it actually went beyond that if they cranked the numbers on it. So my point is that Marvel's not in a great spot right now with films. They had a string of films that were indestructible, and then after Endgame, they just haven't. So but you're getting the wrap up of the Guardians of the Galaxy series, which is phenomenally popular. It was the one that came. Marvel took this. Remember the SNL sketch where now Marvel's making a movie about this office chair, and it was a huge hit. You know what I mean? So that's what Guardians was. So yeah. I love the trailer. I have high hopes, but yeah, it's going to be packed with, moments of sadness and dead characters and whatever. So I'm on board for it, but I'm skeptical of where it's going to end up in my rankings, because I thought, this could be a gazillion, whatever. But, with that, and then particularly, some of the other sequels that we're going to talk about, I just don't know.
Yeah, I think this will be highly entertaining. I think it will because it's James Gunn. It's consistent. Those movies are always, they have a good energy plus also emotion. So I think people will be excited about this. I think maybe having the holiday special might have been the wrong. It should have maybe. And I mean, I know why they had to do it because not everybody may not survive. So you can't do it exactly after. So, but yeah, maybe it's a little too much because maybe it's I just saw those characters. I don't need to see them again.
Right. Right. So we'll see. Well, one group of characters nobody ever gets tired of is the Fast and the Furious characters. We're back for Fast 10 your seatbelts. That's right.
And Charlie, you've already broken our rules. I said I would do the next one.
Oh, but I just couldn't help it. I couldn't not do Fast 10 your seatbelts.
Okay, you get these two. I'll get the next two.
All right, fine. Yes, Fast 10 your seatbelts. We got Jason Momoa being retconned as a villain from, what was the one you watched, number 5?
5.
It was 5 where they dragged the safe through the streets.
Is that the first movie where they just got rid of the Furious and just became Fast something?
You're the one who watched.
Fast 5, Fast 4.
You're the one who watched.
They didn't say Fast Forward. They could have done Fast Forward, Charlie.
Back then. Yeah, and
they should have done that.
But yeah, letting go of Fast 10 your seatbelts for this one is a big mistake. So, and I know they've already announced the sequel. These movies are demons for money. So I may have to look long and hard about if this is going to be in the top 3 because I don't know if I have it there right now.
They've been declining in box office. Yeah.
I mean, I would have to look. I know I have all of our stats from last year, so I'd be curious to see how that last one, where it landed. I'd be curious. But anyway, we'll find out. All right, take it away.
And quality doesn't really matter because they do. But even then, the director that has been most synonymous with these films, Justin Lin, he left. And they brought in the guy that made the transporter. So buyer beware.
Thank God you didn't see Transformers. All right, what's next?
Yeah, so we've got 2 throwbacks. May 19th, White Man Can't Jump. Well, this is coming to Hulu, so we can
stick with the movie. Stick with the movie.
Exactly. I don't know why they put that in there. So May 26th, The Little Mermaid, Charlie. Live action. Disney has gone back to the well. Now, I think this is their 4th live action remake. They've done really, really well, so I can see why Disney is doing that.
And that's why.
The Little Mermaid is almost 30 years old, I guess, at this point. Sure. I just don't know what it's going to bring to the table.
That's my
but
fear too.
little kids might really enjoy this, and people that love The Little Mermaid might be excited to revisit with a new take.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So the real next movie, though, June 2nd, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Apparently, this originally was supposed to be Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. They got rid of the Part 1 because apparently when you put a part on something, it diminishes audience intention. They might not go to it because I don't even know if I want to see 2. Exactly. It doesn't end. So they were smart. They just made it Across the Spider-Verse. Everyone loved the first movie. It was kind of a sleeper hit. And I think this one's going to be huge. I cannot wait. And they're just going deeper and deeper into the Spider-Verse.
And I love it. And I know I can't pan, but that is a huge part of my figure collection you see behind me is spider beings. And I have, when I moved into my new studio, which has a drop ceiling here in my basement, I'm able to put little webs in between. So I have, I don't know how much you can see looking, but you can see some of my spider people swinging from the ceiling. And I love that I have the Spider Rex over here, and I just added the Watcher. So I like having fun with my backdrop. So anyway, I'm a Spider-Verse guy, fired up for this. Not so sure how I feel about June 9's Transformers Rise of the Beast. Now, this is spinning off of Bumblebee, right? So it's not the classic.
I don't think anybody knows at this point.
It's not the classically offensive, gross, like Bay formers that were just
no Michael Bay.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know. I liked Bumblebee, and wasn't there another one in between Bumblebee, or is it just been Bumblebee? Yeah,
Last Night and then Bumblebee.
Okay, all right. Nothing here. It's set in the 90s, so it's spun off of Bumblebee 10 years later.
Sure,
there you go. So that'd be cool. Look forward to that. Todd, you're a Transformers guy, like I'm a G.I. Joe guy. G.I. Joe not being a success story on films, but Transformers at least making some money, even if it's not good.
You know what? I did enjoy Bumblebee. I half enjoyed some of the first Transformers movie. Everything else there, it's just Bay movies over the top. This one, if I think the character designs are a big thing for a lot of people. They aren't bad. They're not great, but they're not bad either. They're not as good as I think as Bumblebee when we saw Prime on Cybertron. But you know what? I don't know. They could overcumber this with a crappy story, bring in some Transformers characters you never heard of. It could really be bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. And Pete Davidson apparently is the main robot, which I believe is Jazz. Wait, no, it's actually not Jazz. I think he's Mirage. It's Mirage, but he's Jazz though. It's funny because he's Jazz's vehicle mode, but it's Mirage, which Mirage was F1 character, a car. So you know what? I'm not going to geek out about it.
It's okay.
I hope it's good. I'll wait for reviews.
Right.
But I may see it anyways.
Right. Okay. June 16 is Elemental. This is a Pixar film. I don't know that I watched the trailer. The blurb doesn't really tell us anything. But it says looks adorable, but will end up on Disney Plus. So I don't know. Is that I feel like we talked about this in the past. Is that the real danger with these streamers that drop in and then 3 months from now you can see it on Disney Plus, that people just don't care? And so maybe that's what killed the Life of Pets or whatever, or maybe the superhero Pets, the one that I enjoyed it, but it was a dud, and like Lightyear was a dud. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think Pixar, Disney's been unkind to Pixar by just dumping their movies on Disney Plus right away. So this is the first time that we're getting a Pixar movie not direct to Disney Plus in a long time. Right. So hopefully it works for them and it redeems some, because Pixar typically does really good films, and this looks like it's back in their wheelhouse where we've got elements, we've got water and fire, and they're personified in a certain way. So this one could be really cute. I don't know. It's coming at a good time, June 16th. When not a lot of, it is following Spider-Verse, but it's still right in the middle of summer. So parents are always looking for something cute to take their kids to. I think it could do well, but we'll see.
Gotcha. All right, let's leapfrog over The Blackening and go to.
Do you know about this movie, Charlie? The Blackening. By the way,
go ahead.
It looks really cool. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek modern horror movie about call it 6 black people in a cabin, and they're kind of going with the trope of, well, doesn't the black character always die?
No. Oh, God.
And so they're playing with it. So I think this is going to be a very clever and smart film, and it's going to be a surprise hit. Yeah, I think it looks based on what I'm seeing, the cast, I don't know many of them. No. But could be a good return to like that witty horror that we don't always see.
You'll have to put it as your dark horse on your bracket if you really think it's going to do so well.
Well, I don't know if it'll do anything. I mean, it might make $60 million, but might be
Right.
with horror. You don't got to make a lot of money to do
It's
well.
cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
But you do to get on the bracket. But this one's me. The movie of the summer for me is going to be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I know that my claim that the movie of the summer last year was going to be Thor: Love and Thunder, and oh boy, was I wrong. But Indiana Jones is in my DNA. It's always been one of my strongest franchises. I've been terrified about this film from the jump, the same way I was terrified about Picard season 3, and look how that turned out for us. But this is exciting. Todd, I don't know. I know we were talking about, hey, how did the last film do back in 2008? You said you really thought it did great, but yeah,
it made 317 domestic, 786 million
global.
worldwide.
Oh, gotcha. So I think there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement around this, and this really is the last go because they're like, and we're going to do a TV series. Now, again, most people probably that doesn't hit their radar. Most people are just like, oh my god, I loved Indiana Jones, and Harrison Ford isn't dead, and he's still punching Nazis in the face because all the best indie movies, he was punching Nazis in the face. So you know what? This is going to be a slam dunk. I'm excited about this. So yeah. And then we come to the next one, Todd. This is you that we were both kind of like, what's it going to do?
Yeah, Barbie. This movie is trying to do like a Brady Bunch / Lego movie situation where toys don't realize that they are real and then they get into the real world, or sometime break the convention and play around with the tropes of Barbie. Barbie, like Lego and other things like that, have a long history, and Barbie's been around, one of the longest existing toy franchises in history, before G.I. Joe. So every person that's liked Barbie is anywhere from age like 2 to potentially 80 years old. So I mean, this could be a big
touching the quadrants. My God.
This could be good. The problem is this does have some adult humor in it. And the meta-ness could fall apart. Greta Gerwig, I believe, is the director for this. So it's a good director.
Right. Yeah,
but might be too smart for its own good. I don't know.
That is, because she's a smarty pants director, and she really is a little bit more artsy than fartsy, and that could pigeonhole this because it's a summertime film. So, all right, July 28th, and I just saw a trailer for this in front of Renfield, which we went and saw the other night, and I figured I'd seen it before. It was Haunted Mansion, Disney's latest attack on the box office, latest attempt to, and this is really revitalizing. Now, jog my memory, was this an old movie? Is this a ride at one of the Disney parks? It's something like that, right?
It was a ride, and then it was also part of the Eddie Murphy era of family properties where he did it, and it was not good. It came out at Thanksgiving, like 2004 or 2003.
So definitely after Pluto Nash, when his career was really dead.
Pretty much. He'd been clumped out, and I don't know if he played any other characters. But I mean, this has got, it looks like the cast is decent. It looks like it could be fun. It's that, I don't know why this isn't coming out in October, though.
Yeah.
It would probably make more sense doing that. Danny DeVito's in this. It could hit the right spot for kids. Kids like being scared every once in a while. It's probably PG.
Right.
I don't know. I think this could be, once again, could be in the top 5, could be nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I think I have it in the lower half of my kind of initial bracket. But Todd, am I reading this right? Is that the end of big summer movies? Because there's two things coming out.
It can't be. Yeah, because it's missing some. It's definitely missing some. So I'm going to go back to this little. We got like a little cutout too of on the doc, and what we missed is The Flash. So Flash is coming out in July, I believe. Let me go back to my other link that has everything on it.
I'm scrolling too. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. Fast X and Little Mermaid. Spider-Man, Transformers.
Beginning to May.
The Flash. Flash is June 16. Wow, I can't believe they left that one out. The Flash, and the Flash is the other one that I'm really very uncertain about because so much controversy with Ezra Miller and all his crazy behavior in the last 2 years while this film was being made, plus the fact that the last 2 DC movies have just taken a Grogan at the box office. It's been bad. Shazam was bad, and Shazam was enjoyable, but it did poorly. And then
Yeah.
Black Adam, let's just not even talk about Black Adam. Absolutely god awful. Couldn't stand it. And people spoke with their wallets. They really disliked it. The Rock left his self-anointed position as king of DC. So yeah, DC's in bad shape. Now this trailer looks pretty exciting, and we are getting Michael Keaton back as Batman, which to people of our ilk, Todd, I was a teenager. You were a teenager in the summer of '89 when that movie came out, and it was everything to kids like us. So I think that stands a good chance of saving this movie, but still I'm like, is it going to be bigger than Guardians? Is it going to be bigger than Indy? I don't think it's going to be bigger than those two films.
It's got 2 weeks on its own, essentially. Transformers comes out the week before it. Spider-Verse is a week before that. So I think there's enough room to breathe where it can make good money. And be the movie that's good. And everything, the only thing, Charlie, I would say, everyone from Hollywood. Last year, Tom Cruise brought Top Gun to CinemaCon or whatever it's called. And you only do that when you have a movie you think is going to be batshit crazy. And guess what? That movie is batshit crazy. Tom Cruise saw this movie and said, Flash is awesome. Everybody else has said, this is one of the best superhero films of all time. There's no reason people have to say that, considering how much, they don't need to, because you could just leave DC movies alone and go on. So I think this one could be like the surprise darling, where it's regardless of the Flash drama, which only people in the know about, like Ezra Miller.
Right.
Nobody else gives two crap about it. If it's Batman doing cool stuff and it looks neat and delivers, and it sounds like the movie itself might be good.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Top 5. Yeah. I think this. I don't think it gets higher than like top 5. Like higher than like maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean it is in my top 5 in my initial bracket, but again, I got to drill down and do a little bit more analysis. And then we missed Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now it's interesting. This is a Part 1, which, as you said, is easier to be avoided, but this is a franchise. We watched the first one last night because we were on a little bit of a Tom Cruise kick, because we watched Risky Business, which I've not seen in forever because it's on HBO Max. Then I'm like, I really want to watch. We watched A Few Good Men, which I had not seen in forever, but it was one of my top 10 favorite films, but I'd not seen it in many years. And so then April's like, why don't we just start the Mission Impossible movies again? And I'm like, yeah, all right. So we watched the first one last night, and it's boy, all the tech in that is aged so poorly. Yep. The whole thing about Luther, which is Ving Rhames' character, is that he's a hacker. And then they start talking about the tech he uses, and you did this thing with your modem and blah blah blah. It's just hilarious because it came out in 1996. These movies, movies have been around for absolutely forever. They've always seemingly performed. So this one, there's no reason to believe that, going back to your Part 1, that would hurt in any fashion, because people are going to go see Part 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm definitely fatigued by the series, because I just saw the last one and I thought it was pretty mediocre. Had some decent stuff, but I mean, I don't know. There's just been so many of them.
I mean, it doesn't blow me away either, but April loves them when we go see them, so I know that I'll see it. But that's just the two of us. Sure. But
maybe it does what the Fast and Furious does for other people, so that's fine.
Right. So we'll see.
But Charlie, one thing we did skip was a horror film that's a series. Insidious is getting a new entry called The Red Door. So if you like those, Patrick Wilson actually is directing this.
Nice.
That is not The Conjuring is the series that I like. Insidious is the series I know nothing about, but it's scary and it does things.
Yeah. We do have for the intellectuals, we have Oppenheimer, which is a historical take, and that's a what's his butt Nolan film, isn't it? Isn't he the director?
Absolutely, and he did Dunkirk, and that did like $300 million.
Yeah, Dunkirk was excellent. We saw that one in the theater. If we bounce back into August, I mentioned at the top of the show The Meg, which would be a sequel to the Megalodon, which is just a giant dinosaur crocodile.
How did that make so much money?
It was god awful. Trust me.
Yeah. Sure.
We have another Ninja Turtles movie, and this one is animated again. Right.
Yeah, it's very similar to Into the Spider-Verse. So it looks good. And most of the crowd seems like they're into it. So, but it's at the end of the summer. So for our criteria, not to take away from the quality, but from the box office perspective,
it can't possibly reach
August is hard to nail a win at the end of the summer.
Which was funny, because back in COVID times in 21, we got Shang-Chi. And did it win the summer? It came close to it.
I got really high up. I think it ended up getting like 2 or 3, something like that, because it was a Marvel movie and they did have the opportunity to kind of have the box office to themselves. Gotcha. This year, though, August is pretty full compared to last year where
Right.
nothing came out. I mean,
Right.
we do get Gran Turismo, which is essentially a pseudo biopic about a kid who played the Gran Turismo video game and actually took those skills and actually could then go join a driving team. So kind of a cool feel-good movie. Yeah, David Harbour and Orlando Bloom's in that.
Oh, nice. We have the Blue Beetle, which, to be honest with you, I don't think is going to capture any of the magic of the Flash because it's a new property. DC's not so hot right now, so I just don't see it being a success. I'd love to be. It'd be interesting to be wrong, but yeah, I just don't think that it's going to catch.
No, at best it'll do what the first Shazam movie did. I think that's the best we could hope for. Maybe word of mouth. It's obviously hitting the Latino like demographic as well,
right?
Which could be a big deal. So yeah, I don't think it's going to have any play in with only 2 weeks in our box office game.
Right.
But I would make me feel very good if this movie performed well and actually redeemed DC, considering the crappy couple of years they've had.
Yeah, and I mean, especially to end this dynasty, which is rebooting with now that James Gunn is co-running things. Is this the last film or is it Aquaman?
Aquaman in December. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Aquaman in December. So anyway, all right. So that's it for the summer. Todd, tell people how they can get involved on the Discord with the Summer Movie Channel. If you listen to us and you're not part of our Discord, Todd, how do they get in the mix?
Oh yeah, so our Discord group, if you just go to Discord and you search Secret Friends Unite, I think you can find us there. If not, our webpage has a link to our Discord. You can reach out to us, you can direct message us and get into our Discord group that way, or just DM Charlie or I on Twitter as well, and we'll get into the group. It's an easy way to get there, but Discord, I think you can search. I'll have to do to see if I can just search Secret Friends Unite and find it that way. But if not, we'll get you an invite to that group.
Yeah, and then join because Todd, you're running that. That's always been your baby. And again, it's great. We've had the competition between you, John, and I for the vaulted Shizor trophy since 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And currently, John has it back. John and I have divided it. Todd, you have yet to acquire it, and as much as we'd love to ship it back and forth.
You stole the election, Charlie. You stole the competition.
We like to ship it back and forth across the country, right over Minnesota, and you don't get it. Part of me would really like to see you win. So maybe this will be your year. You don't know.
The worst year ever, probably.
you better believe it. All right, well, folks, that is it for the show. We would love to see you over on Discord. But in addition to that, Todd, where do people find you out there?
On Twitter at @TExtra for my personal account. If you want to reach out to me and just talk about nerdy stuff, I'm there. But also check out at Secret Friends U on Twitter for all things our podcasts, our YouTube, and all things there. You can go to our webpage, secretfriendsunite.com, and our Patreon, patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. If you want to check out our Patreon, there's some free previews of our content there, and we'd love you to consider joining us. And even if you can't join us, tell people about our Patreon. We would love to have that as well. Give us a rating on our podcast. We would love that as well. And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
You bet. And that's how you can see this video you may or may not be watching. Well, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. As I was talking about at the top of the show, my lovely wife, April, and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the largest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. We're here in West Michigan. I actually do run Region 13, which covers all of the state of Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker who lives out that way, or even if you live somewhere else, drop me a line on our socials, either on Twitter or certainly at our website of that same name. I can tell you how to get connected to put you in with other people who love talking about Star Trek. That's what I do. So one last time, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.